So I'm going to be making pattern Simplicity 9385, and I'm going to be doing view B. However, I am going to be doing the sleeves from view C. I like patterns like this because it gives you a couple different combinations you can do. I've already made view B with the appropriate sleeves before, made it twice, love it. But I want longer sleeves instead of 3/4 length sleeves just because it's cold now. So I am going to be using a sweater knit, inexpensive sweater knit that I got from Joann in a cream color. This is my front piece. That is one piece cut on the fold. And this is my back piece. That is one piece cut on the fold. This pin is in here so that I know that this is the back piece. Let's see if you can see that. That pin right there. First thing it has you do is join the back and the front at the shoulder seams. So I am going to match up my notches. And pin. And this is not a sensitive knit, so my pins are going to go through just fine. I have a whole mixture of pins here. Some are heat resistant heads and some are just your standard quilting pins, the ones with the yellow head on them. I'm going to match up my notches on the other shoulder seam and pin. So I have my shoulder seams pinned, and we're going to go and stitch both shoulder seams with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. So I have stitched my front and back pieces together, and I ironed my seam open. I also serged the raw edge a little bit. You don't have to do that with a knit because it's not going to unravel on you, but I did it anyway. So now we're going to grab piece 3, which is our neckband, and we are going to fold the center seams together, match up our notches, and pin. And we are going to stitch using a 5/8 inch seam allowance. So it'll be together like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to fold it in half lengthwise. So here we have our neckband sewn together. So now what we are going to do is fold it wrong sides together in half lengthwise. I like to base my raw edges together just so that they don't shift on me or come undone. Some people will just go straight to sewing. Some people do all of this on their serger. I like sewing on the machine and serging later if I have to. I did get a cover stitch machine right before Thanksgiving that I have yet to use. I may try it on this neckband. Who knows? We'll see. So I'm just folding this in half lengthwise, and I'm going to go and press it and baste it down. Okay, so here's the neckband folded in half. I basted it together, and now we are going to attach it to the back and front. And I'm going to start at the back piece, which has my 2 notches on the upper back. Let's see if we can zoom in here a little bit for you. So there, 2 notches on the back and 2 notches on the band. And I am going to match those notches up. And we are going to pin all the way around and stitch this down with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. You may have to stretch the neckband as you go to fit. Okay, neckband's all pinned, stretched to fit. I'm going to continue to stretch a little as I sew to keep it all even and balanced. And here goes. All right, so here is the top with the neckband attached. I got a little bit of puckering right here in this area. I cleaned it up. It was a little worse than this. I don't like messing with the stretch stitches that I use. They're bare to take out. That is not going to bother me. I am going to wait and use my cover stitch to finish this inside of the neckband. So I'm going to leave that the way it is right now. Otherwise, I would have serged this and then top stitched. So that's our front and our back and our neckband. So here we have our sleeve band and our sleeve. I'm going to set the sleeve itself to the side right now. I'm going to take our sleeve band. We have 2 pieces, and we are going to fold the sleeve band in half, matching the notches. And then we are going to stitch the notched edge with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Again, we have 2 pieces. We're going to do the exact same thing. Fold right sides together, matching the notch, pin, and we're going to stitch using a 5/8 inch seam allowance. You're going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. And then we're going to come back and do essentially the same thing we did with our neckband by folding it in half. Okay, here are our sleeve bands, stitched, seams pressed open. So now we're going to fold them together, wrong sides together, just like we did with our neckband, matching our seams. And essentially just fold it onto itself. I'll go give a light little press on this. And again, I like to base the raw edge just so it kind of stays even as I go to start to assemble, knowing that I have to stretch this to fit. Those stitches will easily just pop right loose, but I like to have them there just to kind of keep things even and not wiggling on me. Okay, so that's what we'll have right here. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other sleeve band. And then after we fold these in half along the fold line, you'll see a fold line on the pattern piece. I don't mark that line because it becomes pretty obvious where you need to fold it, and your raw edges are going to be even, so you really don't need to mark that line. That's just my personal opinion, and I don't do it. So there are our sleeve bands. Okay, so I'm gonna set those to the side, and I'm gonna go on to this actual sleeve. Here's our sleeve band. Not our sleeve band. Here's our sleeve. We have 2 of them, and we are going to fold right sides together in half, matching our notches, pin, and then we are going to stitch along that notched edge with a 5/8 inch seam allowance, back stitching at the beginning and the end. Now, sometimes with knits, actually, I'm not even going to say with knits, with garments, period, sometimes I use clips instead of pins. And sometimes I use a combination of the two. I don't have my clips out and handy, so I'm just going to be pinning everything. So again, we are going to right sides together, fold our sleeve in half, matching our notch, and we are going to be stitching again with a 5/8 inch seam allowance from start to finish, back stitching at the beginning and the end. So what I am doing is attaching the sleeve band to the sleeve, and I am stretching to fit as I go. And this is one of those areas where I like to use clips instead of pins, just because it's easier to maneuver, grab and clip as I stretch versus pinning. But anyway, you find out what works best for you, and that all comes with trial, error, consistency, practice, all those good things. And as I sew, I'm going to continue stretching to fit. All right, so I'm gonna go and stitch all the way around using the 5/8 inch seam allowance, back stitching at the beginning and the end. Woohoo! Okay, so now we're gonna take our front and back and we're gonna stitch at the side seams. So we're gonna bring them right sides together. We're gonna match up our notch, pin all the way down, stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning and the end. All right, so that was one side. So what I did, bring them right sides together, match up my notch, pin, 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 I'm going to stitch both sides, back stitch the beginning, back stitch the end, 5/8 inch seam allowance. All right, so here we have our sleeve. Our band has been attached. Again, I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to use my cover stitch to kind of see what happens because I've never used one before. But this is our sleeve with our sleeve band attached. And now we are going to attach the sleeve to the bodice front and back that has been stitched together at the side seams. So when we attach it, it is going to look like so. This is the sleeve attached. As you can see, I haven't stitched it down yet. So I am going to go stitch this down and then come and show you how I attached the sleeve by using the other side. So this is what our sleeve is going to look like after we attach it. All right, so to attach the sleeve, what I did was turn the top wrong side out. So there's the top wrong side out. And here's the sleeve right side out. And the top part of the sleeve is what we're going to be joining to the bodice. So you have an opening here. I'm going to take this sleeve and I'm just going to slip it up into the top. I have my side seam for my bodice, and I have my seam, my underarm seam for my sleeve, and I'm going to match those seams up. And of course, what do? Pin. All right, so then I have a single notch on the bodice and a single notch on the sleeve that I am going to match up. That indicates the front of the top. On the other side, you should have a double notch on the sleeve and a double notch on the bodice. And you're going to match those up, of course, and do our favorite task. Pin. All right, and then we have some markings on our sleeve as well as our bodice. So you have a top, you have 3 notches on your, I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to get in the frame. So you have 3 notches on your sleeve that you would have made, not notches, dots, marks, that you would have made on your sleeve when you first cut it out. 1, 2, 3. Front, center, back, if I have this oriented right. So the center notch at the top of your sleeve is going to match up with your shoulder seam on your bodice. Typically you had a marking here, but I find that that marking always gets washed away. But just know that that center mark is to match up with the shoulder seam, okay? And then you should have a mark on your bodice. There's that mark, that's the bodice. And there's the coordinating mark on the sleeve, okay? And those are going to match up. If you are a perfectionist, which I am absolutely not, you can run your pin through one notch to meet the other notch. I keep saying notch, but these are dots, okay? And that portion of the sleeve and the bodice will match up, and you pin. And you just go around and you finish pinning the raw edges together so that you can then stitch the sleeve to the bodice. Again, you want to keep everything flat. Give a little stretch as you go. But I find that this particular sleeve and bodice matches up oh so nicely. All right, so I'm just pinning all the way around. I'm going to match up this other dot over here that I didn't do earlier. Okay, and then we're just going to finish pinning, and then we're going to go and we are going to stitch using a 5/8 inch seam allowance. I find this to be a very, very easy, nice pattern. Gives you summer tops, winter tops. It's just a good pattern all around, in my humble opinion. So we're gonna go and we're gonna stitch this down and come back, and we're just gonna have one more thing to do, and that is our bottom band. All right, the final thing we have to do is our lower band. And we have 2 of these on the fold. What you're going to do is you're going to join the ends of these 2 pieces together. Right sides together, of course. So you have 2 pieces, right sides together, and matching notches. There's a notch here. And there's a notch here. Basically, it's literally end to end. Alright, so we're going to be stitching the lower band side sections together, 5/8 inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning and the end, and then guess what we're gonna do? You got it. Fold wrong sides together like we did with our neck band and our sleeve bands. So 5/8 inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning, back stitch at the end. All right, here we go. We have stitched both ends. So now, wrong sides together, matching seams. We're gonna fold it in half, basically. We're gonna wrong sides together the other seam. And then you may notice I have not bothered serging any of these seams because they're getting closed in on themselves. I just press them open. And I like to keep my notches aligned. This has 2 notches on either side, and this is going to help you align the band with the front and back bodice, meaning the front and back of the top. Okay, so this is what you have. These are our seams where the yellow pins are, and then our notches where the pink pins are. So now we're going to take our top, the bottom end. This is the front of my top, and this is the back of my top. And I did not make my notches on here. One of the things that I did not point out that I did with this top is I actually lengthened it. This is top B, but I lengthened it 2 inches because I thought it was too short after I attached the band for my body style and for my taste. And of course, when I did that, I forgot to transfer my notch marking, so that's why there are no notch markings on here. But guess what? I'm not even worried about it. I'm gonna attach this bad boy and keep life moving in the right direction. So we are going to match our side seams here with our side seam on our band. That's one. And we're going to do the other side. That is 2. And then typically I would have notches that I would be matching these up with, but I am not going to worry about that in life. This is a very simple top, and I'm just going to go and match up my raw edges, stitch using a 5/8 inch seam allowance, back stitching at the beginning and the end, and then the lovely top will be done.